Welcome to another edition of the Rider Rumblings podcast. Taylor Shire and Darrell Davis are with you yet again for episode 178 as we discuss the third loss of the season by the Saskatchewan Roughriders as they fell to the Montreal Alouettes on Saturday. Darrell, where do you want to start this week? Again, for another week, we have lots to talk about.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, tell you, Taylor, I was just thinking about it. I'm writing a piece on, we're recording this early in the week, and I'm just thinking, when the Riders have won a lot of different ways of their 10 victories, but every time they've lost, the 3 times they've lost, it's been a decisive loss. They don't break anybody's hearts, right? They lose. They don't show up. They don't play well, or they totally get outplayed or outprepared by another team. I don't know what the word would be, but it seems weird to me that the team that is so good can be so bad at certain games.
Yeah, interesting. They have found ways to win close games, and they've found every way to win close games. And that I've always said that's a sign of a good team. Every time it's coming down to the fourth quarter, time winding down, how are you going to find a way to win? Well, the 3 losses they haven't, like you said, haven't been able to find a way to win because they've been so far out of it by 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They haven't had to mount that comeback. Although I will say there was a time in the Alouettes game where I thought maybe, just maybe, they might come back, and then Montreal scored right after, and it was over by the fourth quarter. Yeah,
they're capable of coming back from a close one, but those 2 Calgary games and that Montreal game, surprisingly bad, surprisingly flat. We don't see that from this football team very often, and it seems like they turn in the keys and go home early sometimes. It's a tough one to explain for such a talented and usually a motivated football team,
right? Yeah, and I was going to say they've trailed in a lot of games and mounted double-digit comebacks in most of their not most, but a lot of their victories, right? They've been down 10, they've been down 14 points in a lot of these games, and they found a way to come back in the second quarter, third quarter. We haven't seen that in the fourth quarter, in the 3 games that they've lost, but they found a way to really come back. And I think that you have to give some credit to them for not being out of it early when you could have just, handed in the towel early.
Yeah. They are slow starters, and that Trevor Harris, the quarterback, addressed that after the game, said that it's something they have to work on. It's not terrifying how bad they are, but they need to get rocking and rolling a little bit earlier, and I think that would be something that they might, I don't know, that's a psychological thing, I guess, maybe that they can work on during the break. They need a break, though. I think that they should sit back, enjoy the week, and realize what they've accomplished. There's going to be a lot of hand-wringing, including from us, about how badly they played against Montreal, a home game against Montreal. But I think that they can say, you know what, we did stink out the joint, but for the most part, we've been a really good football team. And if they to think that way, pat themselves on the back, and I think that's the best way to start regrouping for that game against the Elks.
Yeah, this bye week comes at a good time. It'll be a mental reset, physical reset. I think maybe the most important thing. Getting a couple of cornerbacks healthy, a couple of Canadian receivers.
There's a topic.
And yeah, I do want to address that because it was a 48-31 loss. They had one rookie cornerback playing and another who had been a special teamer all throughout his career playing. And Kerfal Exume has been getting a lot of flack for his play. And I want to flip that. I don't think he deserves the flack he's getting. I think the coaching staff deserves the flack for putting him in that position to get exploited. He's shown in his career that he's a good special teams player. He has not shown that he's a good cornerback. So I don't know if this was an experiment or if this was we have nobody else but to put Exume in there. He's been okay when he's covered for Sales and Campbell, as a backup during games. But for him to make that first start and for Montreal to know that and put Philpott on him, I just think they set him up for failure, and I think a lot of it has to go on the coaching staff for not having the right pieces in place. If you put me out there, I'm not going to do well. You have to be able to find the pieces to make your team successful. It's not necessarily up to the players all the time.
Yeah, it's their belief, and you quizzed Corey Mesa, head coach, about that afterwards, right? About the standard, and they seem to think that everybody can just step in and play at that level, and they're certainly not capable of it, right? Was the old Saturday Night Live when the show began? It was the comedians were called the not ready for primetime players, And I kept thinking that phrase kept running through my head when I thought of Exume and Sapp, the two corners. We're not ready for prime time. The Rough Riders seemed to think they were. And you're right. The coaches were misguided on that one and to not help them out immensely, a lot more, right? Move Roland Milligan over to help them out a lot. Maybe even move them around in the secondary a little bit. There are little things that they could have done. They could have brought a better pass rush. They didn't rush the way they had in the past, right? It was mostly a 4-man rush, and we've been talking about how great they've been with a 5 and a 6-man pass rush. That would help out the secondary quite a bit, I think, and they didn't seem to do it. So I'll agree with you that yes, the players weren't very good, but they weren't put in good situations either.
Yeah, and that's, play calls. Personnel, obviously, I think is the most important thing, because they didn't choose to play Antoine Brooks in the defensive backfield because he didn't have a great game the last time he started. Yeah. When he started on spot duty, I don't think he played great, so they wanted to do somebody else. Exume had played, like I said, a little bit in relief, so they're going to give him his first start after, 88 games of playing special teams. And then they had Benny Sapp, who's played a little bit down south, right? Came to the Riders earlier this season and had looked okay in practice. And he wasn't exploited like Exume was, but he still didn't. I mean, he's a rookie starting his first game. I don't know what to expect, but he wasn't outstanding by any means. But again, those two guys are not, in my opinion, not why they lost the game.
No, not completely. But
they didn't help. They didn't help.
Yeah, but. And the Alouettes are certainly licking their chops about that, right? They and now we know why Corey Mace is so secretive about the injuries to Devon Campbell and Marcus Sayles, right? There's two starting corners, because he was saying one of them will play, one of them's doubtful, one of them's good, and he was hedging his bets, which all coaches do in terms of injuries, but he was making sure that they didn't know which one was going to be healthy and which one wasn't going to be. Obviously, the Alouettes had it figured out pretty well and put Philpott on Exume and thought, here we go, this is great. And McLeod Bethel-Thompson looked like an all-star, like it's the best game he's played in how many years. So at quarterback, he passed for a crazy number of yards, and including those 2 long ones to Philpott. Yeah, they knew what they were doing, and the Rough Riders didn't, it seemed like.
Yeah, and the Riders have given up plenty of passing yards. So 379 to Bethel-Thompson. That's not even like sure, he had a great game, but I think it's everything else that they didn't do. They let this rookie running back rush for 125 yards on him. And they didn't get any sacks. No turnovers. So all of those things, along with a couple of rookie defensive backs or defensive backs making their first start, I think that is why they lost the game.
Yeah, bad mix. You're
Couldn't
right.
tackle too.
At everything. Yeah, we've given the defense credit for winning a lot of games. Overall, I think the defense, including the play calling, lost that game for them. Not that the offense was any good, but they put up enough points to win. Some of it in garbage time, of course, but the defense just wasn't the same defense. And your point that Corey Mace, the defensive coordinator and head coach, didn't call things the way that we thought they would have to protect those corners. They thought they were protecting the corners by playing conservative, and it didn't work at all. So strange decisions. I think they've learned from it, and I guess that's the reason you lose sometimes, is to learn a lesson and move forward.
It was almost, and I wrote about it after, almost the definition of a trap game. They had a lowly Alouettes team coming in, Saskatchewan playing so well, coming off probably the biggest 2 victories of the season, and emotional victories against Winnipeg. Yeah. Have an East Division team, not a rival, coming in. Doesn't really mean anything in the standings. No one's really hot on their heels. A bye week coming. Montreal had lost 5 straight. They beat them so easily last time. All of that equals trap game, ? And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's the pure definition of a trap game, isn't it? And they got trapped, I guess. So a disappointing performance from the Rough Riders, and their fans are mad. We're poking holes in them too. So, they don't put themselves in that situation very often, but they could have been, I don't know. Can you prepare more? Can you just be ready? Were they looking ahead too, Taylor? That's part of the discussion. Before the game, before the game started, they'd already clinched a playoff berth too, right? So there's that automatic little bit of a letdown. Okay, we were playing for this.
We've got it. Exactly.
We already got it. So there's a bit of an emotional and physical letdown from that. Pro athletes don't like to admit it happens, but it seems to happen sometimes. And that probably was in the back of their head, along with all those other things that you mentioned.
Yeah. We didn't expect the Riders to run the table even after the losses to Calgary. I don't think anybody expected them to be undefeated through the second half of the season. I would say the coaches can use this as a positive. Like, I think anytime a coach can have or find some sort of motivation to motivate his players, I think that's a good thing. And I think that's what this loss is a bit of a kick in the butt for when they come back after the bye week to say, hey, we can't take our foot off the pedal against any team. We're going to get beat. So it'll be a motivating tactic for them, because had they won and got into the bye week all happy, and who knows, they might have laid a dud against Edmonton, in the game or one of those games coming down the stretch. So this will be a bit of a, I guess, wake-up call, if you want to call it that, where they're going to head into these final 5 games fully in control of a home playoff game, fully in control of the West Division lead. And so I think that'll be the motivating tactic. Okay, let's and maybe they lock it up in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they don't have to play those final 2 games, play all the starters like they normally would. So there's a lot to be decided, I think, in the final 5 weeks, but it could be wrapped up by in 4 weeks from now.
Yeah. And some of those guys could use a rest. AJ Ouellette played very hard, but it wouldn't be a bad idea as a running back to give him a little bit of a break and use Mario Anderson a bit. Their offensive line's been battered a bit, right? So if you can rest a player, I know they don't want to rest, but you might not have to play them the entire game or something. And you know what we were talking about? Trevor Harris is looking a little tired. There's not that he doesn't always have a lot of zip on the ball. He's a very accurate passer. But when we were comparing, Jake Maier came into the game late in the game, and there was a zip on the ball. Jake Maier is a pretty good especially long distance passer, and he seemed fresher, right? I know Trevor Harris has played a lot. Don't forget he's 39 years old, and it seemed like he's just wearing down maybe a little bit. And I think that if you could clinch that home playoff game and give him a break, I know he won't want it. He doesn't like coming out of games, but that might be a pretty good idea to rest, give him a bit of a rest. What are your thoughts on that?
But would you – so that's always – and this is a discussion that we probably shouldn't even be having right now, but they have a 4-point lead on first place.
Yeah.
And there's that first place bye that you get in week 1. So do you give him 2 weeks off? Do you maybe sit him – like, you don't know when you're going to have this thing wrapped up. So do you sit him at the second last game of the season, give him the last game of the season to play, and then have another bye week in the first? I think you
start planning that a little bit now, Taylor. I know they hate looking ahead, but you've got to still have plans like that in your head, right? Just to say, what are we going to do? How are we going to get him some rest? Because do you think he looks tired? Does he not have he hasn't been as accurate? He hasn't been as zippy with his throws?
I think the whole team, I think this bye just needed to come, because I think the whole team, I think after those, again, 2 very emotional games against Winnipeg, I just think it was just like, okay, we need a bit of a reset mentally. And Jake Maier came into the game and had zip on the ball because he was fresh. And I think you could say that about any player. Even when Mario Anderson came in, a few weeks ago that was the last time the Alouettes played, it was in the 4th quarter, and he just looked like the greatest running back of all time when he made all these cuts, but everyone else was tired, the defense. You're not going to obviously replace Trevor if it's a meaningful game, right? He's going to play right until the end.
And you might even play him part of a game, but I think he just needs he needs a bit of a break from the.
Yeah, and I think this whole team does.
He doesn't run much. He doesn't once in a while he gets hit pretty hard, but the offensive line's done a pretty good job keeping the sacks down, and he hasn't really been belted that much, but just the wear and tear for an 18-game season, and he doesn't take, as we said, he doesn't get taken out of very many games, so he plays right to the end because he wants to. Good for him, but maybe for his own well-being, it might be a good idea to give him a break somewhere when they can. You're right.
Yeah,
they're going to win with him, and he's the guy who's going to carry them to the finish line. But I think that a well-rested quarterback, or at least a partially rested quarterback, might be really good down the stretch drive.
Here's something that I've noticed about Trevor this year, and I don't think it's happened before in the past, is that every time he takes a hit and gets knocked down, he gets up emphatically. Like, he's like, I'm fine. He makes sure that no one in the stadium watching on TV thinks that he might be hurt. He might be hurt, like bumps and bruises, but he's popping right back up and getting right back into the huddle. And I don't know if that happened last year or the year before. He might have stayed down. Okay, make sure I'm feeling good, get up slowly type of thing. But after those 2 injuries in the last 2 years, I feel like he's making a point of making sure that no one has doubt in their minds that he's okay.
Yeah, because he gets a little heated when we question him about things like that, right? He doesn't like being asked about injuries because I'm okay. That's the way he operates, right? And I agree with you. I think he's been jumping up a little quicker too. That wants to get up, and it's automatic with him, right? Even those the time he cramped, and we're worried about concussions, right? And he has missed a game with a concussion through concussion protocol, so he wants to make sure that he's up and ready to go. And that might not be a good thing. I think of the legendary George Reed. He said every play when he ran the football and would get tackled, he would get up at exactly the same speed, very slowly. And he was asked about that quite often. He says, I want it to look like I'm the same every play. I don't want them to think they hurt me. I don't want them to know if they hurt me. But so if I get up nice and slowly every single time, then there's nothing they can tell about me. So maybe that would be a better approach. But I agree with you that I think Trevor Harris is jumping up quickly, but maybe should do the George Reed thing and just get up slowly every time. So it's exactly, I'm the same guy. I'm fine. Let's go on with the next play. It worked for George Reed pretty well. Yeah,
and catch them off guard too when they're like,
yes.
Interesting. I guess we'll talk about sort of preview that Edmonton game coming up September 27th after the bye week, or more so on the injuries and how they're going to deal with it. Obviously, you want Devon Campbell and Marcus Ellis to be back. That, I think, is the most important thing. But it looks like Samuel Emilus and Kean Schaefer-Baker are – I don't know if they'll be ready for that game, but they are making their way back into the lineup. Emilus looks a little bit closer than Schaefer-Baker, but two Canadian receivers that you could be getting at a very important time, I think would be a big boost.
Yeah, and they already bumped Robustelli out of the lineup because of the emergency roster juggling they had to do. I think that hurt them, to be honest. I think Robustelli's that hard worker, one of those energy guys who's always working hard on the field, right? Blocks downfield. You talked to him about that special teams, the special teams, the quick kick tackle he made. He's a good energy player, and I think that might have hurt them a bit. That he's obviously the first American to go if they're going to do that. So maybe they are going to go back to starting three Canadians, which they're certainly capable of doing. That would be a shame for Robustelli, but it might help them in the long run because they do need to get some Canadians on the field, and you're not going to keep Kean Schaefer-Baker or Sam Emilus off the field if they are healthy. The receiving corps has been pretty good. Dante Myers and Keyshawn Johnson still make good catches, so that would be a nice boost to their offense. I look at their defense, and when you add it up, by the end of the game, with C.J. Rivas was hurt, and Shane Ray, the defensive end, was hurt. So when they were playing for most of that game against Montreal, 6 of the 12 starters weren't officially starters. 6 of the 12 guys playing those positions, right? Because Avery is out and Allen has replaced him really well, right? You don't notice that as a difference, but with the secondary, the 2 guys in the back, that's quite a change.
Third string safety.
Yeah, third string safety, right? So that's a lot of players. Losing Rivas and losing Ray during the game, you're right. And the other outside linebacker spot, and then 3 guys in the secondary because you're right. Lacombo got hurt earlier, and then his replacement Jackson Ford got hurt too. So they start a third string safety. So that defense has been rebuilt. So if they can get some of those guys back, we don't know at the moment. We don't know how Rivas is, and we don't know how Shane Ray is, but those would be big losses, and they hurt them during the game. So getting all those guys back, getting those offensive receivers back, it would really help them out because you can tell that their offensive line is better now that they've got the starting rotation back, basically. Although I know they'd probably like to get Ferland back to guard from center, but that might be something that's going to take a while. But they've done pretty well, all things considered. But you can always be better if you get those injured starters back. Yeah,
the offensive line is sort of the least of their concern this year after it was a major concern last year, even the year before, with all the injuries that they had. That is a positive sign for them. The receiving core will be interesting because I think Myers and Johnson have to stay as their American starters. Ajoa has looked good since coming back from the NFL. He's going to stay.
Yeah.
So Tommy Neal all of a sudden finds his way on the bench when Schaefer-Baker and Emilus comes back, and I think he's been nothing but great since being.
He's been great, boy. We kept thinking, and you and I have talked about this on our podcast here, that what are they doing taking Mitchell Picton off? He can do everything. Well, Tommy Neal can do everything too, it seems like, and he's tough as nails, makes tough catches, runs good routes. He's got a little bit of speed, not blazing speed, but fast enough. Yeah, he's been really reliable. Losing him putting him back on the bench, taking him out of the starting role. That's surprising. But what are you going to do when you got Ken Schaefer-Baker and Sam Emilus are great players, and if they're healthy, you've got to put them on. And you're right about Ajo, because one of those energy guys too, right? He's brought a lot of energy to this team and big playability. So it's a good problem to have if you're the Rough Riders, but it's a tough one to watch from the outside when you say, "Oh, there's a good player they're going to have to do without for a little while." But you turn him into a backup, but. That's the secret of the CFL, the roster juggling that goes on, a lot of it because of the Canadian-American ratio.
Look at Sean Bain, right? He's easily can be a starter on any team, including this team, but slow start to the season with the recovering from the injury, gets healthy, no room for him. And certainly now no room for him is Robustelli, I believe, has been bumped based on the ratio, so Bain will drop down another rung. So again, good insurance policies for this team to have, but not ideal if you're those players wanting to play in the game, I guess.
True enough. You're right. So, but having all those guys back will make Trevor Harris even better, right?
Yeah.
Harris has had a pretty good season. I'll give him credit for that. I do worry about him wearing down, as I said, but having all those receivers back and the ones he's used to working with, and Canadians, boy, that can really help the Rough Riders out down these last 5 games.
Yeah. All right. Well, the Riders will enjoy a bye week this week. They'll be back September 27th in Edmonton for the first of 2 straight road games. So we will talk about that game next week on the Rider Rumblings podcast. Darrell, thanks as always for joining, and have a good week.
All right, Taylor. Take care.